Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So we're back with another updated complete guide, and this time we're going to be taking a look at Miss Fortune. So this is basically, alright, before we get into that actually, let's of course remind you guys to check out her basic guide for skills, leveling, order tips and tricks, as well as combos that I will put up in the cards above right now. So this is basically the top rank build that all of these top misfortunes are going. The only real change is a lot of them are actually going for lethality boots instead of gluttonous grease, but I personally like the gluttonous grease better because I feel that without that you don't really have any lifesteal in your build except from your bloodline, and I do think that the lifesteal actually helps you out a lot because you do a lot of damage and you can get back quite a bit of health. So of course, if you want to go for the lethality boots, you can go for it first and then go for the rest of the lethality items. But as you guys can see, now lethality is the way to go for MF. So first item we're going to go for is going to be Dustblade. Now Dustblade is a completely busted item on MF and honestly a lot of other champions as well. Gives you, the most AD and most armor pen out of all the items and of all the lethality items, and also gives you the extra bonus physical damage with the 99% slow as well. The thing about this is that this passive can actually proc on her Q because her Q procs on hit effect. So if you bounce your Q, you will actually proc the Dustblade passive, and that's why sometimes your Q can do like half the HP of like the enemy ADC when you get your Dustblade. So that's just completely busted item on MF. You always want to go for this as the first item, not anything like Youmuu's or whatnot. So next item we're going to go for is Collector. Now if you really wanted to, you could put Youmuu's here as well. But personally, I always see Youmuu's as like a first item kind of thing, and if you don't go Youmuu's first item, you might as well just not go for it. But anyways, everyone's going for Collector here. You get, of course, your AD, your armor pen, as well as crit, which in this case, like, you don't have any other crit items, so you could crit on your ulti if you get lucky, but you can't really count on that happening. You do, of course, have the Execute passive at 5% health, which, but for MF, because of her ulti having so many waves of bullets, does happen sometimes, and even on her E, you will see in the gameplay later, I actually managed to KS a kill with my E, proccing the Collector, pretty funny. But yeah, so next item we're going to go for is the Edge of Night. Edge of Night, of course, is going to give you the extra shield, extra spell shield, as well as the extra survivability because of the health. And then you want to go for Sorela's Grudge. Now, MF is basically the only ADC at this point that has to build Sorela's Grudge anymore. Even champions like Ezreal or Lucian, who used to be the Sorela's Grudge users, even they don't necessarily have to go Sorela's anymore. But MF is really the only champion that still built Sorela's Grudge, because you need to get the slow to hit your ulti. And yeah, so because of that, you don't have any anti-heal. So your anti-heal actually comes from your Kempang Chainsword. Of course, there's no point to go for more Reminder because it doesn't stack passive with Sorela's Grudge. And there's no point going for another lethality item as your last item because at this point in the game, people all have a ton of armor. So the best thing you can go for here is either like a defensive item like GA or other defensive items, or you can go for the Chainsword. Gives you health, AD as well as ability haste, and of course the Grievous Wounds. So for the runes, you want to actually go for Kraken Slayer. Now, of course, last time we used to go for First Strike. You could still go for First Strike with this lethality build, but I found that Kraken Slayer actually works very well, both in lane as well as in the later stages of the game. In lane, of course, you can proc Kraken Slayer relatively easily. You Q auto to proc Kraken Slayer. In the later parts of the game as well, you can proc Kraken Slayer quite a bit as well. So you could also go for a First Strike, as I mentioned. So it's kind of a little bit of preference there. Brutal, of course, because you still are an ADC that auto takes a decent amount. Giant Slayer, of course, most value in this slot. Bloodline, because you don't care too much about attack speed as MF. And we have Bone Plating as well for the anti-burst. And for the spells, generally you want to go for Flash and you want to go for Exhaust. Alright, so with all that out the way, let's move on to our gameplay. Okay, so as usual, of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Now, of course, be sure to address them by replying or, at least dropping a like. So with MF, of course, your support is important. It's better to have an engager like Leona than an enchanter because MF is not really a hyper carry. Kind of a strong early game, falls off later on in the game, and you kind of just want people to CC for you to hit your ult. So one of the best supports you can get for MF is actually going to be Leona, because Leona is gonna allow you to hit a really good ulti. If Leona can land her ulti, basically means you will land your ulti. Alistar also works really well as well for this purpose. Yeah, so here, of course, in lane, game plan is relatively straightforward. All you want to do is you want to you know, auto attack both minions and enemies. You want to use the minions to actually reset the aggro. Now here I actually get hooked in my Blitzcrank. I take a ton of damage here. I exhaust the Vayne as well. I flash away. I'm trying to pop the fruit. Vayne actually flash tumbles and kills me, but Leona's gonna get the trade kill, so overall it's a 1-for-1. Although of course I would say we're kind of on the losing side of that one. All summoners popped except for Blitzcrank's flash. So yeah, of course Blitzcrank hooking you in is definitely a death sentence. So the fact we almost survived is pretty lucky already. Now we're headed back to lane. And yeah, so you really want to have a situation where you have multiple CCs on your team to hit your ulti. Now the best case scenario is you have a champion like a Diana or like a Mumu that can group the enemies for you to just hit your for you to just hit your ulti. Those kind of big CCs, Cannon maybe as well. You know, these kind of champions with these kind of ultimates do work very, very well. But of course you can't always count on that. But honestly, something that a lot of people don't know about Miss Fortune is that her ulti is very strong, but she's actually very strong as a normal just champion as well. Like, she does a lot of damage. You can see here, the damage is coming in. We get the kill onto Vayne. Blitzcrank lives on 1 HP, unfortunately, and does get away. But this match is going to be a prime example of that. Now, spoiler alert, I don't actually get a good ulti off the entire match. So pretty much all of my damage comes from Kraken Slayer, plus my just auto attacks and Qs. So honestly, MF is kind of a champion now where her main damage comes from like her passive and her Q, not exactly her ulti. I mean, yes, her ulti if you can hit it, but honestly, after playing so many matches of MF and like playing a lot of MF in Korea as well, if you guys remember that, I realized that it's really difficult to channel a good ultimate. Like, you really need a very ideal team comp for that to happen, and that rarely ever happens in solo queue. So really, the Q is kind of where, and the passive is kind of where MF's damage is really at. So yeah. So this match we have a decent amount of CC. Of course we have Leona, we have TF like a stun card, and we of course also have like the ASOS like Black Hole. The Z was actually a Vi, but changed to like Z at the last minute, which is kind of annoying because like Vi would have been a lot of good CC for me. So here you can see we're attacking Blitzcrank, proccing Kraken Slayer on him. I'm exhausted, so I don't do so much damage. Vayne gets tagged by the side of the Leona ult, but doesn't get caught because she tumbled out of the way. And yeah, so generally MF should be really strong in lane. Aside from the fact she has no mobility, she does a ton of damage in lane, as you guys can see. With her autos and her Qs, does a lot of work and should be, you know, able to kind of chunk the enemy to like low HP. Leona gets hooked in, but doesn't get hooked under tower, pops the W, doesn't really take that much damage at all. And here the ward is disabled, so we know there is an enemy nearby, so it's time for us to kind of back off. Could be the Lee Sin, which if it is, I don't know why he didn't just walk past the ward and just gank us immediately. Instead, he disables the ward and, I don't know, hops into his own jungle or something like that, because the ward is still there. He doesn't even kill the ward. Really strange sequence of events here. But anyways, we are able to pick up our Duskblade, and we of course can see Lee Sin has roamed mid. So we know that you know, we are relatively safe here, I guess, in that respect. So, you know, it is a Vayne and a Blitzcrank, so we should be kind of winning a little bit harder, considering Vayne doesn't do that much damage in the early game. Speaking of Vayne, I will be doing a Vayne guide relatively soon. There are a couple of, there is a new like funky build with Triforce that I want to cover. So you guys can expect that video to come up, you know, within the next week or so. So here Vayne wants to go in. For some reason, I go in with the ulti. Doesn't really hit very well. It does do some damage, but you know, not a lot. As I said, I don't quite get a good ulti like the whole match, so yeah. We are getting bounces onto Blitzcrank consistently, but he doesn't really take that much damage. He is actually really tanky, at least for me. So here we're just going to go for some plates. We're going to go for 2 plates, and then we can rotate to the dragon to help. So here are 2 plates in the pocket, and just walking over to the dragon. Lee Sin is now here to contest. Leona goes and CCs the Lee Sin. I'm trying to follow up here. We get the Kraken Slayer proc onto Lee, and he's really low. We secure the dragon. Warwick comes in, flashes in with the Terrify. Now Karina's on me. I somehow survive on 1 HP, And Katarina dies before she can jump to the last dagger. Warwick dies as well. I'm gonna pop the fruit and hit back to the fight. Only Vayne is really left, and if we can, you know, CC her or slow her down, you know, or get an assist, maybe that would be good. She is able to actually run away. So I'm just gonna go for the mid wave, which the TF is getting all of the minions on. So now we back again, getting we were gonna get more lethality, but I realized that, you know, we can complete boots, so we're gonna go complete boots first. Of course, boots is pretty gold efficient item in terms of stats, and does of course you know, give you a lot of value. So we complete the boots first, and heading back to lane. Now this is a little bit dangerous because of course Blitzcrank hooks, you know, are probably just gonna die. Leona tries to go in onto MF, not onto MF, onto Vayne, but doesn't really work out. Again, Vayne gets hit by the tip. A lot of dashes on the enemy team, like you know, Lee Sin, Katarina, and Vayne, the three important targets, all have dashes. Really difficult for Leona to actually you know, hit an ulti. Here you can see I have Hex Splash in this particular match instead of Bone playing. Yes, because I was testing out the new Hex Splash after the buff in patch 5.0c. The one that if you just tap it, it'll take it as if you channeled it for 1 second. Didn't really get very much good use out of the Hex Splash in this match at all, so I don't really think it's that useful. So here is probably the best ult I get the whole game, which is on top of a TF stun. I just ulti the Blitzcrank. Katarina's coming down, so we're going to back. And you can see I'm just using the Hex Splash willy-nilly. It's only a 20-second cooldown. But the main use of Hex Splash is to flash over small walls, like in the Dragon Pit, Baron Pit. And a lot of the walls, honestly, you can kind of flash over, so that's kind of like my rationale. But honestly, if you're in a situation where you need to flash over a wall, number one is really, really niche, so you may not encounter that every single match. And number two, if you encounter that situation and you get a Hex Splash over, you do get the value from the Hex Splash, like pretty much like saving you like 1 death from the Hex Splash, or even 2 or 3, depending on the match, you know, if the situation calls for it. You know, could make it worth it, but, you know, at first glance, after testing it for just 1 match, which is this one, I don't think it's really that worth, because like some matches you get completely 0 value, like here. So here I'm gonna flash away from the Lee Sin Q, because if I get hit by the Q, pretty much I believe if I get hit by Q, I believe I'm dead, because he's just gonna kick me and, you know, just full combo. Nah, that wouldn't really be fun. So I'm just going to just back off with the flash. So now rotating over to mid, Zed is getting all the kills already and doesn't really look like we're needed. Lee Sin does end up killing the Zed though, so now we're just on mid wave, just farming the minions. Warwick is here, and Lee Sin is probably nearby in the top side, either that or he recalled. Now that we've cleared mid, we're just going to go back to bot, and on the way there we're going to grab the Skull Crab. And then we're just going to pick up this huge bot wave. Of course, MF, pretty decent wave clear just because you can proc your passive onto multiple minions. You can see she clears wave relatively quickly just because of proccing passive non-stop. And with all of that gold from those like 2 waves, we can back and complete our collector, I believe. There we go. And at this point, we're 1-1-5. Not really incredibly fed, but of course we're not doing that badly as well. Obviously way better than the 1-5-2 ASOL. So Twisted Fate here is going for this on-hit build that's really popular in League PC. He has Bork and he has like the Magnetic Blaster. Here we're trying to see if we can stop the bot tower from being taken. I can't really stand here to channel ulti to clear the wave or anything like that, because you know, I'm just gonna get hooked in by Blitzcrank or hit by a Lee Sin Q. So we end up not being able to save the tower. But anyways, the dragon is gonna spawn pretty soon. TF comes in, you know, with the stun card onto the minion and again takes my minions. Pretty annoying, this Twisted Fate. And then he takes the red buff. Anyway, so dragon is up, so we want to see what we can do about the situation. Fight ends up breaking out on mid, so I'm carefully making my way there. Lee Sin decides to kick Zed and does end up dying eventually. I get a very nice bounce, huge Leona ulti I'm able to finish off the 2 kills off of the Leona ulti. And should be a free dragon at this point. Only Katarina is alive, and she can't really contest the dragon on her own. There we go, and off of the dragon take, I'm gonna go back to bot to push out this wave before I back. There we go. It's now resetting, again getting more lethality. It's gonna make our Q hurt a lot. And even, it also makes our ult hurt a lot, except that we don't actually really hit the ult the whole game. Just farming the jungle camps while I have the opportunity. Mid tower is still up, so we are trying to force the mid tower down. There we go. Mid tower is down. And top tower, the next target. We are distracting them here. Asol's probably going to be able to get the top tower if he actually tries and not just leaves the wave. But yeah, hopefully the minions can get the top tower, I guess. Here, if anyone walks close to the wave like what happened there, you can just pop the Q to deal additional damage to them, because it's going to bounce off the minions onto them, and it's going to do, you know, a pretty decent amount of damage. Honestly, I think TF uses less mana than me, because he doesn't really use spells so much because he's auto-attacking. Here Katarina goes in, I exhaust her, but she pretty much just one-shots me. And TF, for some reason, is chasing the Katarina. Ends up getting kicked by Lee Sin, dies pretty much instantly after that. And yeah. So I think TF really only uses mana for his W, because you won't want to cast Q if you're building on hit TF, because you're actually losing damage when you cast Q compared to just auto attacking. But yeah, MF like has to keep spamming her Q. So honestly, I think I use more mana than him. But obviously, you know, he's not even gonna let me get red buff. He's not gonna let me get that either. So here, it's a 3v5 at the Baron, but our team is kind of actually winning the 3v5. Unfortunately, Leona does go down, but Aurelion, so I think, picks up a triple kill or a quadra kill maybe here. Gets a double kill. Here, and is chasing for more. I believe gets the triple. Yeah, there we go. In the meantime, I respawn with the Baron buff, of course, that we stole, and I'm just actually clearing the huge wave at bottom. And while waiting for the next wave, I'm just you know, clearing out these jungle monsters. So now we're pushing all 3 lanes. All 3 carries are getting the, you know, waves of gold. Really, really nice. But of course, we know the enemy team is going to respawn soon, so we don't want to push all the way to tier 2, because enemy team can easily come and stop us. So I'm going to recall, complete my Edge of Night, and as well as a stasis. Of course, the stasis mainly is to fight against the Katarina. Or even if Lee Sin tries to come in for a kick, if we react fast enough, we could stasis. Although I think that's pretty unlikely. So here we finally are able to get the red buff. Leona spotted in the bush by Blitzcrank. And here the Zed's pinging for a pick onto Vayne. Honestly, I don't even think he needs help to kill Vayne. He can probably do it himself. So I'm just going to try to use the Make It Rain for the assist. And that's where the Collector comes in with the KS. You know, using the 5% execute on the Make It Rain. I really was trying to get just an assist. But, you know, getting a kill is fine by me as well. I'm not going to complain about it. Here I get exhausted and Warwick is on top of me. I pop the stasis to try to buy time. I end up buying enough time for Twisted Fate to come in with the stun. I finish off the Warwick, and now I'm just trying to focus whoever is in front of me. I get a decent ult, I guess you could say. Here Lee Sin tries to go in, goes golden, and dies to Asol. And now the whole enemy team is ace. Me and Asol are trying to either end the game or get a couple of towers. Next wave is coming soon because our current wave is dying. Reaches just in the nick of time. Vayne tries to stop me. I exhaust her. I tank a tower shot, which does, you know, lead to me taking quite a bit of damage. Asol tries to chase down the Vayne. Doesn't quite work out. So it looks like we can't actually end the game. So we're gonna have to settle for the towers. We get 2 inhib towers, and we're gonna just back off after that. So the next dragon is up, and it's Infernal Dragon, which will give us Ice Dragon Soul. So instead of resetting, I'm actually going to go over to the dragon to try to help out my team. And Blitzcrank nearly gets just instantly killed by Aurelion. So Warwick goes in with the ulti for some reason, 1v5, and we just kill him because he basically rooted himself by casting his ult. We pick up the Ice Dragon Soul, and now me and Aurelion Soul are finally going to reset, so we need our team to not start any fights while we are resetting. I get the entire Sorola's Grudge at this point. And next Baron is going to be spawning in like 10 seconds, so that's what we're mainly going to go for. Now, because I see Zed's resetting, we're obviously not going to be able to do Baron, so I'm just pushing out mid wave to get some mid lane priority. And here I'm checking the bush, see if anyone's inside. Get a ward in onto the bush. Lee Sin disables the ward instantly, basically. Hits a Q onto the Baron. Baron is falling pretty low. I'm trying to body block his Q, but I don't manage to do so. Fortunately, Zed gets the smite. And we are able to actually pick up the kills. Now here is where Hex Splash would have come in to flash over that wall, but I forgot that I have Hex Splash at the one moment where it's actually important. And I end up walking around the wall, which basically wastes the fact that I have Hex Flash, which is kind of unfortunate. What is fortunate though is that we are going to be able to finish the game. My team's going for the kills, whereas I'm going for the wave to push in and end the game. Only Katarina is left alive. Pretty much no way she can do anything here. She tries to go in and gets exhausted, gets stunned, just dies, and we do end the game. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.
Victory!